What year is it? Okay. All right. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you're. Cooking. Hi there. Welcome back to the George Show. Speaking of which, I would like to wish everybody a very happy Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, Independence, Labor Day, Memorial Day, St. Patrick's Day twice. And if I don't get a move on, we will be celebrating Mother's Day together, which is also my birthday, and I have no desire to spend that with you. But hey, I've been cooking. Of course, that is the metaphorical cooking. If you've ever tried cooking in real life, which is not a guarantee, as this is a game development channel, and you can now finance DoorDash orders. But if you've tried cooking in real life, you'll know that there is a special circle of hell dedicated to trying to cook while other people are in the kitchen. In a perfect world, everybody else in the kitchen would be you. I've made a game where everybody else in the kitchen is you. And, in this game, much like in real life, if you touch yourself, you die. This brilliant idea occurred to me the way all of my other brilliant ideas occur to me. It was during a creative lull of working on my other larger project, Hard Deck, which I am still working on. So don't panic, okay? Look, footage around here somewhere. This is real-time pathfinding, no more flow fields, which I lost my mind over. Real-time pathfinding with destructible terrain, okay? So just give me some time. I've been cooking. It's been like 350 days. Anywho, in one of these creative lulls, I was watching a Markiplier video, because he plays games, and it struck me that a lot of indie horror games have surprisingly competent cooking mini-games shoved into them. And I don't like horror games, but I want to make a cooking game now. Or I did 6 months ago. But as all 722 of you know, I'm too complicated for my own good. So I had to mix the cooking game with something else. But then clawing its way up from the recesses of my brain were a memory of playing a game on what I believe was my father's iPhone 4 at the airport when I was like 10. When we were going to, I want to say, Salt Lake City. Not that that's relevant. Which, I did not know that that was the name of that game until I started researching for this video. And I gotta say, I hate puns. Hate them. In every facet outside of video game names. So, good job. Does not commute, but watch yourself. Also, point of order, this game is free and still available, and I think they made an update semi-recently. There are no ads in this game, at least as far as I could tell, which you'd think would be a good thing, except this game is long. There are several stages with lots of cars, and you can, mess up and traverse and restart and all that jazz. But when you finish one stage, it moves you on to the next, and there would normally be a checkpoint there, except the only way to get checkpoints is to buy the premium version of the game, meaning if you don't want to spend money, you have to restart the game every time, which is lame. I would much rather have an unskippable ad after every death than this system. And I know it's a personal preference, but come on, does not commute. That does not commute. Or, compute? Anyway, in this game you drive from point A to point B, and then when you successfully reach point B, time rewinds and you have to drive from a new A to a new B while avoiding your previous self. Rinse and repeat this like a dozen times over, chaos ensues. I ultimately want that, but instead of just driving from A to B, you are cooking a meal at a restaurant. And for starters, since from the very beginning I wanted to release this game onto Steam, I decided I should sit down and actually plan out what I was going to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's good enough.
By the way, it's like 1,000,000 degrees in here, and I can't have my air conditioner on because it is so loud. So if I look sweaty, it's for you. You make me sweaty. Anyway, bing, bang, boom, kitchen. Spendublious. Now, for the fun part, actually making it a game. Also, I promised Buried Bones NH9XR that I would show more gameplay, and so help me, that is what you are going to get. First things first, we need movement, which is simple. You've seen it 1,000,000 times before in my devlogs and everyone else's devlogs, you get it. But for some reason, I was really hell-bent on making it physics-based, so we had some kind of interesting results, but nothing worth showing to you. Also, I think I lost the footage. Sorry, Buried Bones NH9XR. We're moving around, and the second most important system right behind the movement is the movement of the ghosts, which is what I've taken to calling the copies of yourself that are doing the things that you just did. I accomplished this with several lists and arrays and for loops, and honestly, I don't think I could explain it to you off the top of my head how it works. I just know that it does and is surprisingly robust. You know what else is surprisingly robust? Tomato sauce. Or the robust kinds of tomato sauce. Robust tomatoes. Robusto? Cooking. Tomato, along with lemon, garlic, salt, and pepper, are the seasonings that you can have to put on your orders in this game. In addition to that, we have beef, chicken, fish, bread, salad, and pasta, as well as these being cut or cooked. Of course, some of them need to be cooked, like the, raw animals. But together, this means there's a lot of possible orders. I haven't done the math because that kind of sounds like calculus to me, which I don't want to do. But there's a lot of combinations, meaning that when you get an order, it should feel familiar, like you know what you're doing, but it won't be completely the same, so you'll get bored. Ultimately, it's enough to make the game feel interesting and make you feel like you've spent the right amount of money on it, which we'll get to. You know what isn't interesting? This kitchen. Rearranging lights, models for each object in the game, sound effects.
Okay, well, that's weird. I guess I'll file import raw data. Raw data sync. And import.
Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of custom UI elements, textures from everything I made, including finally learning how to make normal maps. Side note, you know how textures make things look like it's the colors? Well, normal maps are for lighting, but that takes in colors, which you have to know specially, and I'm pretty sure the professionals don't paint them like hand. But I did, because I had severe brain bleeding as a newborn. I also made not one, but 2 new models for the chef, and now it looks alright. I don't love how you're floating in a black void, but, well, you'll see why you're floating in a black void in a second here. Anyway, I've once again found myself talking about a game that looks pretty good, but isn't a game, or at least doesn't have the functionality of one. So, time for the classic devlog trick of turning 4 months of work into maybe 4 minutes. Anyway, the problem. We need to interact with our world. The way you do this is going to be buttons scattered around the world. They'll let you pick up your food, your seasonings, deliver to a table, do the things you need to do, all that jazz. Altogether, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total things you can do. And I could make a custom script for each and every one of those, but I figured it's buttons that are going to do something, and they're usually checking the same chunk of code. So I could probably make this one script. And I did. It's a homunculus, it's horrifying, I don't like it, it's using variables that are for one job, but it's not used in certain other jobs, so I use them for something completely else. I'd say it's clever, but when a man comes home from a night at the bar, and he clearly did some cocaine, and he has a cocktail napkin that he scribbled the drawings for like a new submersible, that's not clever, that's insane. I don't even have the advantage of having done cocaine to wind up with this. Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up in the first place. Honestly, you saw the bottle of whiskey when you started this video. You knew what you were getting into. But ultimately, it all just comes down to string manipulation. The strings are variable words. Like an integer is a number, and a float is also a number, but it's complicated. Strings are words. So they're really just doing string manipulation, which is incredibly messy, and if I were to make this again, like for a sequel or something, I would not do it like that, but in the end, it does work almost error-free. But I spent several hours just debugging and capitalizing and making sure everything is consistent. So the takeaway from this should be, if you're making a complicated system and it could be boiled down to numbers or words, use numbers. Computers like numbers. But one of the things that you can do and have to do to play the game, I say can as though you have a choice, is deliver the food after you've prepared it to its designed table. I put a little set dressing around the dining hall so that it's not a big right angle. For example, here we have a wall and one of those divider things you see at Olive Garden. And now that I have the actual... Hi Duncan, do you have anything to say? Thanks for your input, Duncan. Anyway, now that all of the string manipulation for the order is actually completed, you should probably have a way to display it. So again, with like a month of revision later, we now have this order ticket and this post-it note that tells you where it needs to go, as well as this little clock that tells you how long you have remaining. He's chewing on my microphone cord. It's bad, Duncan. Each level, you have a timer. Technically speaking, it's variable, but it is 60 seconds for each level and for the endless mode, because having a variable amount of time didn't really work right with the difficulty scaling. If I gave you more time, it just really wouldn't be difficult. The way this game works, each second I give you extra is a second that each round has, so it really takes the pressure down. But now that we have the gameplay, you gotta be able to win, and you gotta be able to lose. The winning is kinda cool. This screen goes up, you see your shift thing, because this is like, I don't know, corporate stuff. But the losing is what is exciting, because there are two ways to lose. Either you don't complete this order in time and your 60 seconds run out, in which case, in-world, you know, you've been messing with time a little bit and all of a sudden you're not in your special sheltered little time booth, so you just kind of explode, because you're supposed to be in multiple places at once, which you can't do, so you explode. The second way you can lose is if you bump into your previous self, like the funny joke I made in the intro. If you bump into your previous self, that's you being stopped by a version of you which cannot really exist in that time, and it's a previous version of you being pushed by a future version of you, which means the previous version of you would be offset in his own timeline. So that's a big old time paradox right there, which means... it means that happens. Which is pretty cool. I mean, that's when it really all started coming together. You know how there's a documentary about Halo 4 where they talked about when they started adding things and saw that they were cool, that's when they knew it really clicked. Well, that's what this was for me. And the important difference is, this is my original creation, so I can add things that I think are cool. And the Halo 4 team added things that they thought were cool. Sure as hell wasn't Halo, though, I can tell you that much. What is this, Call of Duty loadouts? That's okay, though. Most of the people that made those decisions are now jobless, so I can sleep easy at night. I've gotten so far off of where I was supposed to be in this script. I'm talking about the ghost system, I think. You remember the robust ghost system I described earlier with the, tomatoes? Well, essentially, when you complete the round, I thought it would be really cool if you could see how all of the ghosts are moving around from a bird's eye view. More of a bird's eye view than you were already at. But all I need to do with this robust system is just increase this integer by 1 and do a couple other things to make sure you're not controlling them, and boom, there you go. 4 months ago, I decided that that was going to be the last feature. As you can probably guess, that was not the last feature. We only had 7 levels at that time. I say we, I mean me, just me, and the voices in my head. I cannot charge money, any amount of money, for a game with 7 levels that are 60 seconds long each. These levels aren't that complicated, in the same way that the food you're preparing is pretty much just comma-separated strings. So are these levels. So I wrote this script to generate some more of them, spit them out in one long string, I copy that string into a text file that currently has the levels, And all of a sudden, we've got 60 levels. But I was looking at this and I kind of had an epiphany that I just made something that could randomly generate levels, and I figured it'd be pretty easy to make an endless mode with that. I was incorrect. The vast majority of the logic of this game revolves around checking your current order with your desired order, and that desired order is pulled from the level text file at the beginning of the level. The endless mode will obviously not have a level text file that it's referencing because it is endless and randomly generated. So the entire thing explodes into a tiny pieces, like the kitchen. Cooking! I had to add a player preference bool, just to save, that told the game whether or not you were in endless mode, and then I had to have every single thing in the game check if you were in endless mode or not in endless mode and do different logic based on that. There was some tweaking I could do to salvage code, but it was a headache. You want to know why I put out like 3 or 4 community posts talking about how this video was a month away? Well, this is why. But a loading screen, changing this setting, and 4 numbers later, and we're just about done. It is time to submit it for review. And to give you a little sneak peek behind the curtain, as though I am the Wizard of Oz, submitting something for review to Steam is complicated. The earliest you can publish a game after submitting it to Steam is 2 weeks after you have an approved store page. My earliest approved publishing date was February 7th. That has been a little while. You see, dear viewer, I have deceived you once again with movie magic. The stuff I've been describing to you, specifically the endless mode monkeying I did after I started the submit process because it didn't come to my mind. Programming simple things takes forever, and programming complicated things is somehow simple, which does take forever. Now it comes to the real big question. What do I charge for it? There's a big incentive to making it free. That greatly improves the reach of your game, it makes it more popular, and that's definitely one of the things I could and maybe should do, but this game isn't going to be hyper viral like some of the other ones made because it's not multiplayer, it's not friend slop, it's just a fun time killer about cooking. Which is funny because the time killer about cooking is what they called me in high school. But on the side of the argument for not making it free, I actually wrote this little jingle.
My car's from 2006, so please buy my game.
That is not a joke. We found an oil leak in it this week, or well, I should say we discovered that it is leaking oil this week. We couldn't find where it was leaking oil from, which leads me to believe everywhere. But you're in luck, dear viewer, because I've set on the astronomical price point of $2. But maybe you don't buy games on Steam. Maybe you don't even have your payment information hooked up because you just get free games. Well, you're in luck. If you do play free games on Steam, there's a decent chance you've gotten some of these community items. If you go into your library and then into inventory, I think, or community items, it's around there somewhere. You'll see all these things. These things are trading cards. And for some reason, people pay real money for them. I don't know. I mean, people bought NFTs. I guess these are kind of like that, maybe. They go for like between 5 and 15 cents if you sell in the marketplace. And they go right into your real wallet. That is real change, which you should give to me. But thus concludes the saga of my first Steam game. I think it's pretty fun. I think you should buy it. And if it makes money, or even if it doesn't, I may make a video about how much money it's made, because that other one got a lot of views. So, but next video will be hard deck, and you'll get that in like, I don't know, 8 years. See you then.